I mean...
Yeah, this is one more than the max amount we've had, yes.
So, it is just before 9 o'clock on
West Coast.
Thursday, West Coast time, on Thursday, August 29th, 2019. We are here live one day before the start of PAX West 2019. I think we're live. Looks like we're live. So we are here. We've got the full crew. Start left to right. We've got Sean Callahan, our marketing manager, joining us here, of course. I mean, he's not in Boise, but the man from Boise, Brian, who put the I in Boise Aldridge.
That's right.
Obviously myself. You can follow me on, check out my Gab at Nick, verified. The man who has conducted the best interviews of PAX in the past, and is the hype man extraordinaire.
I'll be conducting all the training for all the interviews of this entire session, so that you guys can bring your game.
He practically taught id Software how to do an interview.
Practically. Mr. Landgun.
If only John Carmack was there. You know what I mean?
And then finally, the special guest. It took him 15 hours worth of travel to get here.
It's a beast.
Mr. Green Man Cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Are we live, Sean? Can you confirm we're live? All right. Well, gentlemen, we're here. It's been a long day. We're looking forward to PAX West. We went over there. We got our press badges for tomorrow, and we get in, I believe, at 9, about half hour before the start of the show. What are we looking forward to? What's kind of the dealio for PAX West 2019? So I'll start off with you, Brian. What are you looking forward to?
So first thing I'm looking forward to is pretty much wandering. What we do initially is we wander the floor and just look for those games that maybe weren't listed, because what we found in the past is that games were there, but they were underneath, like for instance the Facebook booth, or they were with some other booth, and they weren't listed as a game that is attending. So what we try to do is find maybe a small studio or a game that's going to be coming out, or maybe a game that we cover normally that just doesn't happen to be listed. So I think that the first thing we'll do, because we went through the list of all the different games that are going to be here, and we didn't see a lot of the names that we were hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's going to be one of those where we have to go and actually find them. And I think that's better, because what we've learned in the past is that a lot of these different media organizations do not go and wander the floor.
No.
They go out and they arrange certain interviews, they get the interviews, and that's all they do. And for us, I think we kind of dig a little bit deeper, and we try to find the games that they don't know about yet. And I think we found that with what was the one that we found that first year?
The Snow VR game. Darwin Project.
Darwin Project, yeah. Darwin Project with Scavengers. It was the studio. We found them early on, and they're a good game. I mean, very well done. And I think that we can find another one of those this year, because there's a lot of studios that are going to be here, and so I'm interested in finding which ones are kind of like those diamonds in the rough that are there. So that's what I'm aiming for.
I think one of the big interviews we're hoping to snag is Gary Newman from Gary's Mod. I don't know if he's actually going to be at the show. I would assume he will be, but I think that would probably be, if we were to snag a golden interview, that would be the...
Just even to sit and talk with him just casually, because he's a pretty laid back guy. He likes to joke around a lot. When I talked to him, he was very open. When he just said, hey, he talked to you not like, hey, I'm better than you, more people know me. He was very open, and he just was like, hey, here's some, because I was talking to him more about development stuff.
Yeah. And
he was like, here's some things when, going into game development, like do this, don't do this, and just very matter of fact. And so I appreciated that he wasn't like, oh, I'm been in this and da 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 da. He's a normal guy, so I'm hoping that we can get an interview with him and just kind of sit down and just talk about it. Talk about Rust, what happened with Rust. I think it would be really interesting is to talk about what happened with Rust.
What was the plan originally?
Yeah, like what did you hope for Rust? What happened?
How did you deviate
and
so
then
far?
how did you decide, I'm just going to let Rust be Rust?
Yeah, we're going to put quadcopters and crazy...
The zombie survival is going to become the ultimate troll game. And the same thing with Gary's Mod.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he didn't intend Gary's Mod to be what it is today. He probably made something having a totally different idea, but he let the community take it and make it what they wanted it to be. So that'd be a really interesting thing to talk with him about.
It would. It'd be interesting to understand what his original
Yeah.
vision was for that entire project.
And was it tough for him to just let it go and be like, all right, the community is going to make this what they want it to be? Like, just let it go. You know, and I think that for him, that seems to be what he did, and it's made him very successful.
Absolutely.
So.
Let's put a pin in that conversation. Mr. Green Man Cartoons, you're here.
Yeah.
You're in America. You're here at PAX West
The
2019.
land of freedom.
Land of freedom. What you have? You
You
have
can
any?
do whatever you want.
Yeah,
you
you
can
can-
say whatever you want. What do you want to say?
It's freedom of speech.
What are your thoughts?
What are we looking forward to?
That was
Hey, that's just what he is.
I'm the host. You're the. This is not how this works.
You're not allowed. We may be streaming to your channel, but you are not allowed to ask the questions.
What was your travel? Would you say how'd your traveling go from the UK over to the
Yeah,
US?
traveling was okay. It was a bit long.
How many hours was it roughly?
6-hour train and then 9-hour flight.
Ooh.
So what's that like?
15 hours. But you also like you got there a day early. You stayed in a hotel.
Yes,
you got
I stayed there yesterday and then met up with Nick and Sean today, and then we waited.
Waited.
I mean, waited is nice, right? We went another drink and then we met up for wine and
Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I think that has been the motto of this trip so far. 5 o'clock, 10:30 a.m., 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. It doesn't matter. Time difference. Things have gotten a little wacky.
The trains are really nice though. We saw them on Harry Potter. Is it just like that? You got chocolate frogs on the way over?
Exactly.
Nice, dude. So that
Exactly
wasn't
like
too
that.
bad. That's probably way better than Delta when you got there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the trains go to magic places.
So pulling up the PAX West event book right here. Here are a couple of the people that we've got tagged off as people that we'd like to see. If this will show me who I'd like to go see. Devolver Digital, who is they're a PC publisher, and they're I would say they're one of the biggest indie PC publishers.
For indie, yes.
For indie, yes. They do their own thing at E3 every year, and they publish a lot of games. They publish games like Scum. They publish a couple of other games that we talked
And
about.
they do more of the create. So one interesting thing is when they do a video, they do. What is the video? What is the conference that they do that one video for? That's like just way off the
talking
wall.
about E3?
Is it E3?
Yeah.
So
It's
E3, they
just
do
nuts.
just ridiculous videos,
And they're dealing with the big boys at E3. They're going up against Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Ubisoft, EA, the whole group. and then
this stuff
Devolver.
is like the Cartoon Network sort of stuff. You know when they do those late night
Adult Swim sketches.
Adult
Swim
Swim
stuff.
sketches.
So
They
yeah.
basically do that, but at, like completely straight at the E3 conference.
And that's the thing is they're presenting
That's cool.
that this most ridiculous concept, and they're doing it with a straight face, and they're doing it with the big boys. That's the thing is it's a small indie studio that's producing something that everybody's talking about the next day, and I think that's the secret that they've kind of grabbed is that they're making something that's so ridiculous and so funny that people the next day are talking about it when they're competing against. Ubisoft and they're competing the
like
major
against,
studios.
like Halo and stuff like that. They're the big games. And
It's
the
hard.
big
It's hard to get it
releases.
where someone will talk about your video the next day when they've just seen all of these new, first-time seen trailers from all the major studios, and then you, as an indie studio, have to figure out how to make them talk about you the next day. And I think they've captured that.
And we've seen them at PAX East in 2017, PAX West here last year.
Yeah.
And it's going to be kind of a crapshoot on which games they're actually going to be showing. So
Yeah.
Devolver Digital is a booth that we've got listed on here. There's a new gaming store, an online gaming store that's coming to the scene, and they are actually their big thing is cryptocurrency. That they're coming up with their own cryptocurrency for purchasing video games. So we're hoping that we can stop by their booth and talk to them. Of course, Face Punch, which would be Gary's Mod and Rust,
Yep.
with that group over there. Stadia is going to have a huge presence here.
That's gonna be interesting.
It is gonna be.
Follow that, yeah.
And Stadia is Google's cloud streaming platform, but unlike other streaming platforms where you're essentially renting a Windows virtual machine. Games like Cyberpunk have to be developed to work under Stadia's architecture.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch that goes into that, and a big game like Cyberpunk, by the way, bailed on PAX 2077.
Yeah.
They have to make an effort to build a PS4, Xbox One, PC, and then a Stadia version of the game. That means they're making, publishing, and maintaining 4 different versions of the game.
See, but the thing is, if you can get under Stadia, the thing that it gives you an advantage over doing something over a console version is you can take Stadia and you can have it released under a phone, and then if you can have some sort of an interface for your phone that's a controller or some way to interact with it, you have a fully PC level game, or one of the like PS4 Pro equivalents. You can have that on a phone.
Yeah.
And you can have it with a headset, with a lightweight headset. One thing, if you listen to that Carmack interview that was on Joe Rogan, he talked about one of their new devices that they released.
What's the new Oculus called?
I don't remember if it was
Have
Go.
you seen it?
Is
It's
it
not
Go?
Go.
It's not Go. Was their last one?
It is. I don't remember the name of it.
Whatever it was,
I'll find it in just a second.
the new Oculus. The thing is that's more of a phone level, and so
He spoke to that.
yeah, and they fully admit that this is not a full equivalent of a PC level 3D system that you're doing everything in. So the limit is you're not going to have all that processing power to be able to do that 3D and have all those games in there. Well, what's the way around that? Having something to where the PC
Oculus
operating
Quest.
power,
The Quest.
the Quest, yeah, having it to where something with Stadia is actually doing all the processing, and it's just then delivering it to that device. That solves that problem. So I think that's going to be their magic way in.
But it is a big jump. These studios have to say, okay, we are going
They have to commit to
Stadia.
it.
Absolutely.
They have to have faith that
Can't
that's
half-ass it.
they have to have faith that is actually going to take off.
Yes.
But it is very possible. That's a very big market that if it does take off, that's the way that your average person that's not like us that has a full gaming PC gets to experience that, because there is a limit to having the device that connects to your PS4, and there is a limit to that. You have some hardcore gamers that want to have something more, but they don't want to have a giant device to their head that has a big cable running to a computer. They want to have something that's wireless.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can have something that's more like a phone that then just transmits back and forth to their more powerful device, which
Or the cloud.
which with there is the cloud,
Cloud,
exactly.
yeah.
That gives them that full experience of true 3D that's as intensive a game as you can possibly come up with today, delivered to a lightweight device that doesn't have a giant cord attached to your head.
Do you think we'll be able to see some VR stuff tomorrow, or at least in the next couple days?
We'll see
I
some
think there's
PS.
Oculus.
There's a whole bunch of VR stuff.
Is Oculus here? I think they've got their own
Going
booth.
on.
So
Yeah, they might.
maybe we can get some Oculus stuff. I mean, we know that PlayStation is going to have.
Sony's got 9 booths, I believe.
Not
at this.
Sony has been just throwing everything at that sort of those devices.
PSVR, yeah.
Yeah, everything is VR lately with Sony.
The
So,
VR stuff though is way off.
but that's the thing is you
Is it
VR
way
by
off?
itself
Is it way
doesn't seem
off?
to work with the PS4. The PS4 isn't truly powerful enough to handle VR, because for VR you need to have each lens, each eye running at a full frame rate. Otherwise, you have to be running it at half frame rate, because you're doing it in 3D. So you have to have 2 screens equivalent. So that's where if you get something where Stadia is doing it, to where it's actually doing all the processing and giving you, because it's hard for a PlayStation to run. People are wanting 60 frames per second at max resolution, and then you're doubling that. The PlayStation's old hardware.
I mean, we got to look at these are 2050. These are essentially 2013 computers that you're playing video
Yeah.
games on. when
And
they
so
were
people are
very-
wanting
yeah.
ridiculous
Even
stuff.
like that is 2013. Like even that it's already old.
It took them a while to develop that and then release it.
came out,
Sure.
Like the Xbox, the new Xbox coming out is already 2 years out of date.
Yeah, so, and it came out in 20.
But I mean, the
Yeah,
new one
2014 maybe.
If we get
Oh,
the
oh,
comments,
the-
I think
the-
we need
the
to
one.
Scorpion, yeah.
is already
I think
2 years out of
Lance is
date.
saying the wrong
Okay.
Like because console hardware like takes so long to develop.
To produce.
Hey Lance, if there's anything you need to say
Comparison-wise.
with comments or whatever, Feel
The
free
only
to.
thing I see on here
It's
is
just Barbie doing that
Brian equals brain. I just want you guys to know.
Oh, okay,
I just
thank
want
you.
to know.
I
So the
d-
intellectual,
Thank you.
conversation. So.
I do want to thank.
Thank you.
I do want to
It's
thank.
like you knew already that was a thing.
I do want to thank Serial Killer Barbie for hitting us up with the resub.
Serial
19
Killer Barbie,
months.
what's up, twin?
Woo! There we go.
shit. Hang on, did she give us a real sub or did she give us a Twitch Prime?
I mean,
Hey,
we're not discriminating.
Hey, we're not
alright?
like you. We're not Mr. Green Man cartoons.
We don't have
we take whatever we can get.
Yeah, I
Here
mean, we
we
don't
go,
have all
here
this
we go.
YouTube money, so
Outrageous.
thank you, Barb. We appreciate it.
Don't be cheap, Barbie. Give us a real sub.
Oh.
So we got Stadia. We're planning on going over to those folks. What I find interesting, and for people that don't know the geography of this area, Microsoft is actually not at this show, but Microsoft's home and their main
Redmond.
studio is
For
here,
sure. Thank you.
right outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
But what is here is Mixer, which we've talked about in the past couple of weeks. They essentially purchased Ninja for millions of dollars to stream for 2,
I'm
3,
sure we're
5
next,
years.
you know.
Yeah, Man Infection Podcast is heading there. We're streaming on Mixer tonight. Hello to the Mixer folks. I'm sure nobody watching on Mixer, but hello. We saw a bunch of Mixer hoodies at
Did I
the.
jump over that feed? Let me-
There was a load of Mixer
Hoodies.
merch and stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mixer guys down in the new place.
So,
Whatever's in the queue, bro. You just gotta take it as it comes along.
So Microsoft is not here, but Mixer is, and I find that really interesting because Microsoft is actually the last. They're the last big boys at E3. Sony has pulled out, Nintendo has pulled out, so they're the last big console at E3. But now they're not at PAX West, which is very odd. There's got to be a reason for it. So it'll be interesting to see what the Mixer booth is. If I had to guess, it's going to be probably half Mixer stuff and then half some video game stuff. But it's pretty disappointing not to see Microsoft in their home territory.
So
yeah, you would
The
think.
likelihood is about that is the new consoles are coming, so they're not bothering.
And those will be at E3 this year.
The next year will be when they start like pushing all that shit.
Since they're not ready to hide
So-
spend the money.
They're not ready to announce a new console. So
do you think too? Okay, so here's another thing. You look at like Gamescom, where it seems like it's a more serious convention about gaming and development. And this one, I mean, just us being here and kind of experiencing it, it seems like there's a lot more than games going on
Yeah,
here.
that's PAX West.
Yeah.
And the
Do you think that they're not taking this convention as serious as they used to because it's kind of turned into more of just silliness?
I think they just don't have anything to announce because basically this generation is finished.
Yeah.
The PS4 is done. There's nothing left on it. It's only going to
Except
be
Call of
like
Duty in November.
it's the dregs.
Because the next major
Left.
titles are
You're
going to
right,
be
though. I know
PS. I mean, you
what
got
you're saying.
GTA, the new GTA,
That's not going to be on this
which
year.
is going to be on the new
No,
hardware.
But it'll probably
this generation.
it'll be if it's now if you remember though back to GTA 5, that came out 6 months before the Xbox these current generation consoles launched. So it was built for the Xbox 360 and PS3, ported to the Xbox One, PS4, and then
No,
later
it was-
ported
it
to the
was
PC
built-
5
it was
version.
built for the new console.
Correct, and downport, back-
backgraded for the.
Do you think
Correct.
they're going to do that this time?
Yes.
I'm sure they
Just
will.
to get those extra
Absolutely.
sales?
I have like $300 worth of GTA. I own it on like 4 systems.
Yeah.
So
They can sell
Just those extra
every
sales
single
is probably a
system.
lot of money. You know?
Yeah, because they'll downport it and they'll be like, oh, now you can get it with this much better graphics, this much better capabilities.
Said years ago, The Last of Us was never coming out for PS4.
Really? You call
So The
that
Last
all
of Us
that?
is coming out
It's
in the
not.
coming year.
Oh,
It's
no.
not coming out.
You
No.
think they're going to delay it another time?
It's not coming out for this generation.
Right,
It's
where's the
next
prediction book? Did you
generation.
bring the
I
prediction
didn't
book?
bring the prediction book with me. I'm sorry.
we don't need the prediction book.
Okay, okay.
I'm
Okay.
telling you,
It's
PS5
too fragile.
It's a
So you
PS5.
think along with GTA they're going
Yeah,
to release The
it's-
Last of Us with the next generation console?
It'll be a launch.
They need a
title.
launch title.
It's a launch title.
That was Xbox. And now, if you remember back to the Xbox One, that was the big problem.
Yeah.
They had that shitty game called Rise, which was that
Yeah.
garbage
The
night
Roman
game.
thing.
Yeah, Rise, Roman, whatever.
Roman,
They-
whatever, yeah.
They had no launch titles for the Xbox
Yeah.
One. Microsoft sucked on launch. I was very bummed after I froze my ass off in November of whatever year that was, getting the Xbox and no games existed. What was the other game?
PS5.
Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah,
Sunset
yeah,
Overdrive,
yeah.
Rise, Son of the Rome, or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and then GTA, which I'd already played because it was on the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
We look at maybe a new Halo coming out for the Xbox, possibly for next gen.
Scorpio is going to be like your next
But
gen.
PlayStation, but Sony's going to need something as well. You make a really good point with that.
It's
Because
gonna be-
GTA is not a
And they already
Sony
did God
exclusive.
of War not too long ago. So what are they going to come out with?
It's going to be Last of Us is going to be next
Do you
gen.
think that's going to be the
It's
thing?
going to be.
Do you think that Xbox has kind of shot themselves in the foot with the fact that they're trying to release all of their titles also on PC?
No.
They're not really giving themselves that exclusive
I don't think that thing hurts them.
capability.
Do you know what I mean? Because like they can play it on PC or you can play it on Xbox. They can still
But
play
the thing
on
is
Xbox.
with the new
It's just a
Xbox,
bonus
you
perk.
have to have it to play these new games. And with
Yeah.
PC, you're like, well, I don't need to buy the Xbox because I can play it on PC.
People who own PCs generally won't own the consoles as well.
It's a different culture,
They will,
right?
they, will, they will.
Probably people at PC probably own a PS4.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: they own them, they don't
Why do
play
you
them.
say that?
Yeah.
I mean, I do. You're right.
Yeah, but
I
this-
think you're right.
And I do,
It's-
and he
it's-
does.
Player-based.
Yeah, but see, but that's the thing: is
They
they
need the
own them.
player base.
They don't play them though. It sits on your shelf. It collects dust. You own it. You're paying a monthly subscription for PS Now or whatever it is. I mean, I'm doing this. You play yours a little bit,
You
but
make
I
me feel
play
bad.
PS
I
Plus
play
and I
PS.
quit
I
playing
haven't-
PS Now. Yeah.
I haven't been with my
literally worked this
PlayStation
off on
for
it.
anything but
Literally.
Netflix for the last like 12 months.
so that's what I'm saying. So people own the current generation consoles, but they're not necessarily playing them. They're holding their games out on PC. So I don't necessarily know if that's a
I'm just
Negative
wondering.
for
I wonder
Microsoft.
if that's going to kind of take Xbox more out of the market because people buy the new PlayStations just because there's those games that they really want to
yeah,
play.
of course.
The Last of Us, GTA. You know, like people are like, I'm buying that console. I bought my PS4 exclusively for The Last of Us
Right.
and for Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
You know, I bought it for those two titles. Now, if I could have them on PC, would I have bought the console? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? So, I wonder if it's kind of hurting them in the long run.
But what
Are you-
what exclusive did Xbox have?
That's what I'm saying. They release everything on
Like a
PC.
motherfucker.
Is that's what's kind of killing them?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. So are you forecasting a
one
winner in this
exclusive for
console?
I
war in
think
the
that
near
I
future,
think
or-
that Xbox is kind of giving up on the exclusivity
Mhm.
because everything's on PC and they're doing their kind of their package deal of you subscribe to this package and you get all these games and they're
Right.
less worried about, all right, you're going to buy a console. I think that they're kind of tired. They're realizing that their console really is just a PC now at this point.
At this point, right?
Yeah.
It's become so strong. It's like it may as well.
It's
be
just a
computer.
PC, and their consoles are constantly behind, and they know that a PC is already up to date and it's a lot cheaper.
Here's a comment in chat from MDC says, I got Xbox Game Pass because I can play a lot of the games on PC. I do not own an Xbox.
There you go.
So there you
Yeah.
go. So he is
I don't
purchasing Game Pass.
So he's
Just-
on the Xbox Game Pass.
So he
but
doesn't need to buy the
have
hardware.
No,
Xbox.
doesn't have an Xbox.
I think Microsoft is kind of realizing, well, we don't really need the hardware. We can get people on subscriptions
Th-
that'll
this
give
is-
us money every
but-
month.
Well, they can get the PC market. I almost
This
bought
is
Killer Instinct
basically
just because
like-
I love Killer Instinct as a franchise,
But-
right? But you know, I wasn't gonna buy an Xbox.
But
That's
going
the-
back to what you were just saying, why don't they want to do hardware? Because it takes 4 or 5
It's
years
expensive.
to develop.
Dude,
It's delay. It's already 2, 3, 4 years out of date by the time it hits the
When-
market.
when
and
they're selling them.
$600.
But the thing is, when they're selling them, they're barely making a profit because they have to
Well,
sell
the-
them
the
at.
Xbox made all the Xboxes have made a loss when they sell because the hardware costs so much.
That's what I'm saying.
The only console that makes a profit is the Nintendo's.
Because they sell way behind content.
Yeah,
Their hardware.
They're like a year or
their
2
hardware
years
is still
behind.
garbage.
yeah.
But that's what I'm saying.
You
Is
can't argue with games like
The
that.
Wii U
you know
is
what I'm saying?
720p.
Yeah.
That thing came out in like 2018. Like,
But-
That's what I'm saying. Like, all the modern hardware all sell at a loss, and Microsoft don't have like exclusives like the Nintendos have to offset that loss against.
And they're trying to make it up with the games. That's what I'm
So-
saying. If they can get a subscription service where they're purely making money on the games, they're
Yeah.
not losing money on the hardware. What's the loss for them?
If they-
Why would they bother with the hardware at that
Yeah.
point if they can have people on subscriptions?
but here, so let's.
MDC points out that Microsoft and Sony always take a hit on console costs.
Yeah.
So let's look at this then. So who's actually got the advantage going into the next console generation? war?
Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo does, but in terms of
With
Xbox,
With their Switch. Yeah.
but Xbox and PlayStation, Microsoft's already got the embedded Windows user base.
But I think in the long
what's
run,
Sony gonna do? Release their own launcher?
But I think in the long run, Sony has such big titles and they've committed to those titles
I
that they
think
sell
Sony
more in the
are-
long run.
Are just in the way of fucking it up like they did last time
What do you mean?
The PS3.
with the PS3.
They went from the PS2, which was the
Yeah.
best-selling video game console ever,
Dude, I love my
ever.
PS2, bro. It was
to the
shit.
PS3 was an abysmal failure comparison
the
to the
PS3
Xbox 360.
completely shit itself. Because the launch titles were bad. The hardware was awkward to use and nobody wanted to develop.
Had a
And
Blu-ray
it-
player,
and
though.
it lost backwards compatibility
Yeah.
unless you had a special edition.
Yeah.
That's
And then the Xbox completely decimated it. And then the Xbox then that year,
that was the turning point.
yeah,
For sure.
got super confident, and then they did the motion control shit.
The Kinect.
Yep.
The
Yep.
Kinect,
That was
and then
big for a
they
little bit.
completely shit it.
Yep.
And then PS took over from them again, and the PS4 just absolutely decimated Microsoft.
The Xbox One's junk. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is. It's a
Don't-
junk console.
But don't you think that, look at PS Now. PS Now is somewhat like Stadia. Do you think that they're going to focus less on the hardware itself and in games that are going to, at the moment, require incredible processing power, start relying on more of the streaming service of that? And then they also have a download service now. It used to be PS Now was only a streaming service. Recently, they've had it where PS Now, for some games, downloads the game and runs it locally. Do you think they're going to focus less on the actual being so incredibly ahead of the curve hardware-wise so that they can sell hardware at less of a loss, right? And focus more on having something that either is going to stream or download the game, whatever is capable on the hardware that you happen to have at that time, and just start releasing more regular releases of hardware, kind of like what
But they
the
basically-
Fire TV and things
They've
do.
had a 0.5 each of this generation, haven't they? There's been the PS4 0.5, like
Pro.
the
and then
Pro,
the Pro.
and the
yeah,
Xbox.
And the Slim,
0.5.
Slim.
The
yeah.
Slim. I'm wondering if they're going to start doing
But they-
like every year release a little bit of a different revision, and then they'll just
It's full
provide
price.
you with either a stream or a local download based on what you can run.
People to be forking out 600 quid
Not only
every
not,
But the
every
thing is, you
couple
don't
of
have to.
years.
You
Consoles.
whatever one you have, it's going to deliver you either a stream that is running the processing remotely, or if your hardware is current enough, then download the version to your device to run locally.
the only thing that keeps us beholden to consoles though is independent IP, right?
Titles,
Intellectual
yeah.
property. That's the only thing because we all build computers because we like that kind of stuff. But if we all if all the games were only on PC or consoles and everything was equal, then we could just play it on PC. So the intellectual property is really what makes them
Those
key in
exclusive
that market.
titles.
Yeah,
So I think that shouldn't be
But
thrown by the wayside. That's important.
Consoles are great because you basically just turn it on.
But it depends on
For
the
your
game.
average user.
That's
You look
true,
at certain
too.
games.
But I can't play Zelda anywhere but Nintendo.
But where are we playing the next?
Anywhere.
But where are we playing the next COD?
PlayStation.
It's not an
probably.
IP.
Maybe PC, Ross.
No, the
We
PC,
don't know.
the
We haven't
PC
decided
version. No,
yet.
I'm saying the
We
PC
haven't
version
decided yet.
sucks. I mean, there's certain games that just Red Dead Redemption. I know it's not out on PC, but if it was, I'd bet, and I know for a fact, it's a better experience on an Xbox or a PlayStation than it is on a PC. There are certain games that are just
Yeah.
built.
I don't know with the
Red Dead,
capability of
no.
higher graphics, because the thing is, sure, I have a 4K TV, and I'm running the
Big
PS4.
Money Aldridge. Yeah, I like it.
I'm,
Alright.
I'm running the
Me
PS4
too,
Pro.
man. What's the
You
problem?
know what I'm saying? But
How to?
I know that
How many
how to
inches
money.
is yours? I got 70.
Keep subscribing, thank you. But the thing is you look
Go on
at
Patreon.
as
How to.
my Patreon.com/how to. But if you could go on there and take a look at what the graphics are like on the PS4 versus what it could be on a PC, plus mods. You look at what it's done with
Absolutely.
with GTA. I think people, if they unlocked it and let people have the full PC experience, would go PC.
In the long term,
In the long term,
it'll
but
be
not-
a better
but
game.
not
but it-
immediately.
You're looking
Not
at
immediately,
like
no.
a PC which is like $1.50 compared to like a PlayStation. which
Your
is like
average user,
600
yeah.
quid. And that's like half the price.
And people whose kids are playing. I mean, you look at a lot of parents
But
that
my
are
mate
buying
has
their.
got a kid, like he's got 2 kids, which is 600 quid each.
Oh.
Two Xboxes.
He's not going to buy a
He's not
PC
gonna
for
buy
them.
2 PCs with like $1.50.
If you buy a
Oh,
console,
no.
you know that hardware is going to work for all of those games.
Yeah.
With the PC, you don't know.
And for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it just works.
No,
There's no
so there's
intermediate.
still very much a market for it.
Oh,
for sure.
absolutely.
Agreed. But
I think if they
strong
could,
suit is IPs.
if they could get it to
absolutely.
where they were not making the hardware such a focus, and we're providing you with a service, we're providing you with
Right.
games,
Right.
not the PS, the PS5, the PS6.
Right.
We're providing you with PS Now. Whatever you're on, we're going to provide you the
if
game.
the processing and all that could be
And
done
that's what
all
Stadia's promising.
in the cloud,
So-
then basically the devices.
It may
just
be a
the
little
device.
bit better.
But so here's the argument I would make though. If anybody is in the position to provide that, it is Google. I understand that Microsoft's got their
Yeah,
services with
it'll
Azure
be
and
the
Sony's
Stadia.
got theirs. But if you want to look at somebody that's got the resources and frankly has got the money to blow, that if
Yeah.
it doesn't work, I mean Google is willing to
Google
try
doesn't
anything.
have exclusive titles though. You
They
know what I'm
don't.
saying?
But
not
look, but
yet.
you look at a game like Cyberpunk,
They
right?
they've got Baldur's Gate 2. No, not
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3.
What? Who does?
Stadia.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so the thing is, if they could start, okay, everybody loves to
That's-
hate Epic, but
This Bud Light brought to you by Epic Games, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate that. We'll drink to it. Here.
Here's the Epic Games.
So-
Here's
Oh,
Epic
here's
Games.
the
Epic Games. Yeah, Epic Games.
so everybody loves to hate Epic, but if you look, they've gone and said we're going to get exclusive titles.
And pay
Well,
big money for them.
What is it going to take for Stadia to really compete against these consoles?
Shell out cash.
It's going to get them getting those exclusive titles so that people will subscribe to Stadia. When you could say Stadia will run on your Fire TV, Stadia will run on your tablet, Stadia will run on whatever device your Chromecast,
Yeah.
whatever you have. You just hook a Bluetooth controller to it, and you have a full PC running at 4K, the top tier game.
That's the vision, but they have some technological
capability there.
hurdles that they have to overcome, right? They haven't proved that yet. That's just what they're saying. Hypothetically, we should be able to do this. This is what we're trying to.
They
market.
haven't actually released.
They don't have. They haven't got.
That's
the
not
IP
true.
yet.
They did
They
do-
haven't.
They did do that Assassin's Creed demo back in December, which I tried.
Odyssey
Was
runs
it
on
a
it.
It
closed
ran pretty-
environment?
Well, I mean, it was their
Um,
platform.
Yeah,
Saul
but you know what I'm
tried
saying.
Assassin's Creed,
Yeah, I tried it
and he
too.
said it was really fucking good.
Yeah,
It was.
that's the thing is
It was-
it
you
does
You
run.
almost, you could not tell. You really could not tell.
So that's what I'm saying.
Well,
If
but-
they could get if they could get something like Cyberpunk.
That is a single player game.
Absolutely.
Okay, but Cyberpunk
That is
is.
not multiplayer.
Cyberpunk is a game that's in a very intensive world that takes a lot of processing. There's a lot of stuff going on that your average computer with a below a 970, a 960 graphics card will really struggle with. And buying that kind of a card is a parent shelling out a lot of money. If you can provide that on Stadia and say, you know what, you don't have to buy that graphics card. You can get a base level device that has this app on it that just has a Bluetooth controller plugged into it, and you can have that full experience without shelling out the $500 for that video
That's
card.
$12.99 a month.
I
but
get the idea
those
of it, but
aren't
have they
games
done
to
it
sell.
properly? Like,
I think they have.
If,
We'll,
here's
we'll
the thing.
find out in
If,
the next couple days.
if
We're
they
gonna have
can,
all
if
these
somebody
questions.
can do it properly, I think Google. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not a Google fan by any stretch of the
Are
imagination.
you saying they got deep enough pockets to figure it out?
I
I'm with you.
absolutely-
I hear you.
The
I
thing
hear
is
you.
that single player games don't sell. Not as much as multiplayer games.
There's a validity.
So-
You look at how long's it been since the last Red Dead style single player game
Yeah.
came out that sold as many copies as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have to look back
But
at?
that's Rockstar. They basically have got an ingrained.
That is the
Yeah.
current market, though. That is the current market.
See,
You
but-
guys
but
ever
you
think
can't
about
do a
Stadia?
Fortnite on
you-
Stadia.
can you
That's the
have
problem.
That is the problem.
Multiplayer Stadia.
I don't think so, and I think that they're
Well, that's
betting
kind
on
of-
that. I
But
don't
hold
think
on,
they can.
but you can, right? If you have a game that is exclusive to Stadia, and you and Sean and I and
If we
Green
all
Man
have
and
the
Lance
equal
all
handicap.
have the equal handicap of a stream, frankly, it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
we're all dealing with a similar handicap. Let's
Are-
call it 40 to 60
Are
milliseconds
you
of
saying
delay.
I can't turn my textures down for competitive play? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, I would say that for them that could
They're
be an
going to
issue.
provide you with whatever.
Flat
I'm out.
textures.
Maybe I'm out, bro. Maybe
No
I'm out.
shadows.
no shadows. You see any
Get rid of
pixel?
that garbage, bro.
So that's going to be the key. Is for a service like Stadia, which is what it is. It's not a system. They need their own Fortnite, right?
Yeah.
Google needs a Fortnite, a PUBG.
They need to prove the technology on something that actually is multiplayer. And
Yeah.
if they can do that to where it feels like you're not dealing with a bunch of lag and a bunch of, oh, that shot should have happened, but it didn't, If they can pull that off, then sure, they'll be able to prove it. I think that they'll become competitive. But until that happens, I don't see the competitive market of multiplayer games happening.
But it's all about.
It's not so much competitive. It's like that is the way the games are going. It's more multiplayer than it's ever.
But imagine
been.
Call of Duty on Stadia.
Okay, agreed. If you were playing against me on a PC, but it's all relative.
Yeah.
If we've all got the same delay, then we might as well have no delay.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the key with Stadia. Is if they, let's say Fortnite's on Stadia, I assume it won't be. As long as all of your matchmaking exists on Stadia with other Stadia players, you could have 3,000 milliseconds delay. It doesn't matter.
As long as everyone
As long
has
as
an
everybody's
equal,
got, and it's going to be low, of course, and they're going to figure that out. But as long as everybody's on, it's going to obviously limit and hinder cross-platform play. But in terms of, as long as everybody's on the same balanced, fair playing field, I don't think it matters.
See, but right now the problem is someone who has a better connection will have an advantage over someone that doesn't. Or if they're doing enough equalizing, if they're
Fucking keyboard, mate.
are you guys all right?
Yeah, no. You guys.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
If they're doing enough equalizing and trying
You're
to
all caps, by the way.
to make it so that someone who has a delay is not having as much of a disadvantage, the problem is that's going to cause a problem. People want to have it to where when they do better, it shows.
Well, that is the big disadvantage of services like Stadia.
Yeah.
Is frankly, if I'm going to call him out, our buddy UGX Vibe, who lives south of a major city in North Carolina, has very bad internet.
Thank you, sir.
Has DSL from CenturyLink.
Yeah.
Those
DSL?
DSL.
Who has that
Our
anymore?
buddy UGX Vibe, right? So somebody like him, Stadia is just not a viable option. It's never going to be. It never will be.
Maybe
It's
we
got to
gotta
be
start
broadband.
We play League and we play Dead by Daylight together.
Yeah.
So my is like 120, 140 as standard. Like, how would you like standard wise? We could never be equal in Stadia then.
But you and I play games like League is not so much.
Thank you,
But
sir.
No, but
Good man.
I'm used to the delay on them now because I play on EU servers and I cannot play proper on EU anymore because
You're used to that delay?
I'm so used to the delay like of when I press like moves and stuff that when I play on EU servers I can't.
I
You're
think
in the
people will get
future.
equal. I think people will get used to the Stadia delay. That will become the standard.
How do you know there is going to be a Stadia?
Well,
delay?
there
There
has
has to be some sort of delay.
I would agree with you.
The people that are out on lower internet, I mean, you'll have some people in the city that are on fiber that are might be on high quality, 200 megabits cable connections. They will not have the same delay. People that have fiber. But then you're going to have people that are out in the middle of nowhere that are on DSL connections that are maybe lower quality.
It's not feasible.
They're going to have a delay, and that is going to affect their game.
They're not going to have delay. Stadia is not for them. It does not make sense.
Yeah.
It's not feasible. It's not practical. That's not what it's developed for. It's not developed for 2.5 megabits to download.
It's developed for a low latency internet connection.
Absolutely.
Your
So that-
average person in a city.
That's the same way of saying like, oh, GTA runs like crap on my 2009 Toshiba laptop.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not made for it. Like,
On my
of course,
PS2.
But
Of
how
course
much
it
market
runs
does
like
that
crap.
hit, though? I mean, how many people are we excluding from Stadia? You know what I mean? Like, it's hitting a large majority of the market.
I think that Google's going for the
Like
biggest.
the cities.
I think they're going for the largest.
Biggest bite.
The biggest fish in the sea.
I
They
agree.
understand that there are people that will not fit it, but they realize that the majority of people, the biggest cities that they're going
Well,
for,
it's not even big cities. I mean, most people have got broadband internet.
Yeah.
Most people. There are situations. We've got a couple guys in our group I know that are on slower, limited internet because they're rural. They've decided to live rural because that's what they want to do. They own land. They own whatever. That's the price you pay. And services, unfortunately, like Stadia, are just not for you. PS
Now.
Now's the same way.
Yep.
It's not for you.
But for me, where I have a good internet connection,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we're
PS
sitting
Now
here.
works great.
Well, we're sitting here right now. We're in Airbnb in Seattle. We've got 200 megabits down.
Yeah.
This is and this is not a high tier internet package. It's standard
I'm sure
definition television.
they're paying the base price for internet.
Absolutely.
For
It's
sure.
200 by 5. That's sufficient for Stadia.
Yep.
Way sufficient for Stadia.
Well, it sounds like we'll have some interesting questions for you guys to ask them tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
if any of you guys have any questions, send them in, and maybe we can incorporate that into what we're,
Into an
communicating with
interview.
Stadia tomorrow. For sure. Send your questions in.
so we've got Stadia, Mixer. Hopefully, we'll see some Microsoft stuff. We've got this studio, No Matter Studio, Brian. They do the game Pray for the Gods
Oh yeah.
that you have talked about. It's not, wouldn't classify it as a traditional survival game for us, but it's fringe of our genre, and I think it's pretty relevant.
like it.
We're having to fringe out based on the lack of survival.
Survival games have not been the hottest thing lately, so
Yeah.
we got to fringe out a little bit.
Skybound, who is another publisher, they publish games like The Walking Dead, Dead by Daylight. They're going to be here, but it's kind
They're
of
making a comeback too.
they are, but it's the same question like that we've got with Devolver Digital. What games and who will be there representing their games with that booth? So we've got them on our list. There's a group called Super Giant Games. They've just agreed to an Epic Game Store exclusive, and I think that'd be rather interesting to talk to them. Now, I don't know based on contract-wise what they can and can't go into.
Yeah.
But I think it might be interesting to talk with them. We've seen this. We've talked about the two sides of the coin with Epic Games exclusives.
Yeah.
We've got studios that are all in on it, and then other studios that have passed on very large sums of upfront money.
Yep.
For
Money
games
that
in
would
the
make it
future.
so they were a successful studio.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the question. Going into selling a game, there are a lot of factors that may make you not successful. And pretty much walking into a situation where you can guarantee that you will make money. Oh,
Well, yeah, don't worry about it.
I like that. It's unfortunate.
so
Some batteries, bro.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. It'll take a 12 volt. So guaranteeing that that you're walking into a situation where your studio is going to make money, like how do you turn that down?
That's a tough one.
Because
Especially if that was what your aspiring dream is, and you're like, here, this person's willing to give me exactly what I want.
because you know how
This is
risky
like
game
my
development is. There's games that come out and
every
you know what,
year,
they
every
bomb
year they come and they go every year,
and
More
they
than
make
you
no
can
money.
Yep.
And if you can go in and say, we're going to make money, and whether or not it's popular or not, it will make enough to where we can have money to make a second game and try it again. Or you're going to take the risk and say, well, I'm going to go on Steam, and I'm gonna shoot my luck there. Well, it may be that you don't have enough to make a second game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When they say no, I'm not gonna consider going Epic exclusive. Like, well, you're also considering that you might not release another title.
Does Epic have a booth this year? They don't really do that.
No.
No, but
I'm not eating my hat or my shoes.
I'm gonna message one of the community managers for Epic, the one that you kind of hooked up with us,
Oh, okay.
because he said he might be here. I'm gonna message him and see if he is here, and
That would
maybe
be
we
cool
can
to
sit
at least
down
touch
and
base
hang out with him a little bit.
find out what's up.
And then one of the last ones on here is Ubisoft, of course, and see what they've got to show. There's an interesting event that just popped up on our radar here the past, what's today, Thursday, over the past 4 days. And that was Facebook Gaming, who had a huge presence here last year. They're not doing a booth per se, but they're having some sort of after party thing that they are doing on Saturday. So they are doing that.
Sorry.
Excuse the mic.
Sorry.
And
Good catch, Sean. Good catch.
Is that all right? Is that better?
yeah, that's fine.
I think it's better.
And so
Oh my goodness.
I'm alright.
Green Man is falling apart at the
It's
seams
all good.
here.
It's all good. He was trying to be chill, sneaking under the radar.
Go on, Nick. Wait. Ubisoft.
Ubisoft.
yeah, well, we're trying to get
continue.
Besides,
Nothing happened here.
before we knock over the microphone and bash our head against the wall.
Smash that head against the wall.
So
Staying.
Facebook
Seattle.
Gaming is doing I think it starts at 6 p.m. on Saturday and goes until 2 a.m. So it's a very long. It's meant for an event where you show up and then you people come and go throughout waves.
What are they showing?
I have no idea. It's a Facebook gaming event, but
Do we got a schedule for that?
there wasn't one on their website, but I'm sure they've got something posted.
We're gonna show up and see what happens.
Crash
So
that shit. Okay.
we're at probably about 50 minutes here. We're gonna begin our wrap up here. One big thing I find interesting is now that we've done PAX West 2 years in a row. This is our second year. Who isn't here in comparison to last year? And the big boys are Microsoft,
Yep.
Facebook Gaming, which has made huge investments into their platform, and frankly streamers. That's where they're putting money. And Epic.
Is software here?
It was not.
No.
It
I
was.
haven't heard about it.
It wasn't.
heard them either.
It wasn't here last year.
Well,
They were at PAX West.
they were
2017.
east. They were east. Yeah.
So I'm thinking of.
Borderlands are quite big this year.
Yeah, but see, even Borderlands though.
Mega Cat Studios, the guy who said he was gonna buy all the food,
We
buy the
saw a
bullets,
bunch
they're
of
gonna be here this year.
their statues.
But see, here's the thing interesting about them. I don't believe Gearbox has a booth in the hall.
Oh.
They're doing a theater stream presentation kind of announcement thing. 2K Games does, so maybe it'll be with the 2K booth.
It
But
might be.
Borderlands 3 has a huge presence here. Big banners. What were
Yep.
those sculptures they had?
Oh,
Give
yeah.
us a little description of
I
that.
don't know, but they were awesome. They
What
were
what were they made out of?
They looked like a fiberglass mold covered in EVA foam, and they had real cloth, leather,
Yeah.
denim. I mean, the
Yeah.
rivets on them, the
Zip-
buckles,
like
everything
actual
looked-
zippers
yeah,
and things?
It looked to the
They had
nines, whatever
Trapper.
it was.
Trapper, the robot
The
guy
robot,
they had.
yeah.
That, okay,
And
I
what's
don't-
the female?
I have no idea.
Is it
I don't know
I
where she was
thought
from.
I thought it was.
Siren
Anybody
or
get a
something
picture?
like that?
Nobody
it's-
took a picture.
I got a picture.
I got a picture.
Is it Siren?
I've never played. I'm not.
I don't know.
It
I'm
might be-
sorry.
it might be
I'm
Siren.
stretching my Borderlands
but-
knowledge here, but I think it's Siren.
I only played.
But
I
to
only
be
played
fair-
Borderlands for a little bit, but I recognised Trapper, and when we were chatting about it, it did look more like the girl from that then from.
Yeah, because I was seeing because the girl
Apex.
in Borderlands has those marks down her
Yeah.
arm. She has it, and so I looking at it, I was
It's
like,
gotta be boring.
I was like, this is Borderlands, and then we saw Trapper over there. I'm like, okay, this is Borderlands.
This is what-
One more quick note, interesting thing. Geico Gaming was here last year. They have a
What are they
huge
doing?
booth,
Yeah.
and they have the exact same booth
Okay.
in the exact same spot doing the
For
exact
sure.
same
It
thing.
still
this year.
says Soul Calibur 6 on it. So what is
the
it?
Geico
Can you
guys
explain
that
to
go
me?
fighting games. They're
What are they
Tekken,
doing though?
and
What's their
it's
It's a
Soul
pro
Calibur.
team. It's a gaming league. Geico Gaming. They
But why
sponsor
are they
games.
there?
Isn't that interesting?
That
Right,
They're
wasn't-
spending
that
the
wasn't
money.
in-
It's
that-
a big
that's-
booth too.
But
It's
what
yeah.
benefit are they getting out of being
I don't
there?
understand. Well, you know what? Why don't we come out there and talk to them tomorrow? Because I don't
But that's
understand.
Why are you here?
That's not inside.
Hi, Nick Craig, Affection Podcast. Why are you here?
Why are you here again, boys?
I'll play Soul Calibur 6.
But that's
dude.
not
Hey,
inside the
Yoshimitsu.
the main hall. That was
Yeah, but
outside.
still, it costs a
But
pretty
still,
penny to be
yeah,
there.
For sure,
It was,
bro.
it was
They're paying
them,
for
it was
exhibitor booth.
Elgato.
Yep.
the
Which
other
is-
guy.
which is
What am I gonna go watch them compete in a professional game? Like, how
I
am
don't-
I
I don't
making a?
understand.
What's causing me to make
I'm
them
just
money?
wondering, are they doing like a fighting game thing?
They'll do a
outside
tournament
it?
or something, probably.
I just don't know why they're there.
We should go talk to them, and if we walk away and we all have Geico, then it worked, whatever it was doing. You know what I'm saying?
Zero
So, like, we should go try it.
They want to do Dragon Ball.
Try and
Fighter
switch
Z.
from the General to Geico. I mean, who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
it'll work. We'll have to check it out and see.
They want to do Soul Blade. I'll win.
We'll see.
MLG
And all
Pro.
they have is Soul Calibur 6. So,
No, Soul Blade.
dip so much.
I do-
The old school. You know what?
Mitsurugi.
You talking
on
on that?
Soul Blade.
You talking on that shit?
You
I
guys
have
are
some- I have
playing
some
up
retro
fighting
here,
games.
bro.
I want to thank our friend Judd for throwing us $5 here throughout the
Thank
stream.
you,
Judd, we
Judd!
appreciate it.
In the house.
All right. Well,
Barbie in the house.
we're about 50 minutes.
NBC in the house.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Barbie, for commenting on my shirt.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
You
She
should-
said you look great in that purple shirt.
You should have
I
come
just
out,
want you
yeah.
to know.
You should have come out.
Yeah, Barbie, next
Barbie,
year.
you should have come out.
We
Great.
have a space
Thanks for
on
the
the
shout-out.
couch.
Absolutely, you should hook me up with one of your good-looking psycho friends.
So,
Neophyte. Thanks for the shout out.
as we wrap up the show here, this is the pre-show.
Pre-show.
We're gonna do interviews tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and we'll have a post-show Saturday night that'll be a little more structured.
Sunday night, right?
No, Saturday night.
So,
okay.
I'm not here.
One night is Hero
So
Quest.
that'll be tomorrow night.
Hero Quest.
So Friday night's Hero Quest.
Zargon shall defeat the
Zargon!
heroes this year.
Zarga got his ass handed to him last
But
year.
not in 2019.
And then tomorrow night or Saturday night we'll have a regular stream
That's cool.
Yeah, it'll be.
because we will have Green Man cartoons here.
Yeah, it'll be more of a structured thing. We'll talk about we'll talk about what we saw, who we talked to, things that we saw from the show. We'll have 2 days worth of that, and then Sunday night.
Don't overcommit.
We're not overcommitting. No. Sunday night we
There'll be
might.
some good content.
Sunday night we might stream a board game, a card game, a video game. Who knows? And
Well,
then
Sunday will be like a post show.
Retro 16-bit
Retro
night.
16. We got Cards Against Humanity and a couple of other card games that we brought. And then coming up Tuesday will be a full episode of Infection with a bunch of interviews.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
some of the
Cross
interviews
your
are
fingers.
recorded.
Hopefully that people want to talk to us. We got
We'll find out
we got our
tomorrow.
hype man extraordinaire here who has already been working magic with
With all the Uber drivers.
Uber drivers,
Oh,
Lyft
yeah,
drivers, random people that we jump in their car drivers.
I don't know about Infection, but we at least got Green Man 2 more subs. I don't know.
Nice.
I'm just saying. I think we did.
I'm
So
2 subs up.
yeah.
Hey, the Social Blade will love it. We'll
Technically, I'm 18 down.
So on that note, does anybody else have anything, travel stories or anything else that we're looking forward to as
No,
we
man.
are
Travel
here at
is
PAX?
good for me.
Likewise.
What I will say is if you travel, do not take fish fingers in a plastic tub. It is disgusting.
I don't know who would have done that to begin with. but
Somebody
that's
from the
fine.
UK.
Somebody from the UK did it as they walked past them, so.
I arrived
All right,
15
guys.
minutes to the airport early, and it worked out
God
perfectly
damn
this
Boise
time.
fucking story. We're done.
Goddamn
We're done.
So,
Cut it off, boys.
ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for the 2019 PAX West pre-show. Thank you for joining us. You can check us out on Twitter @InfectionCast. We'll be here.
Oh, of course, Mixer.
At InfectionCast on Twitter.
Twitch.
We're live on
all that
Mixer, Twitch,
YouTube.
YouTube. We're not on the Epic Store. Really though, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on here
Epic,
at PAX, join our Discord server. Links on our website.
If you're going to purchase something from Epic, make sure you search for Infection Podcast in the affiliate store, and we will be there.
Trey is saying now it's time for WoW.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
That's my...
so-
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm coming back to.
Wait a minute.
We're coming back to the couch. Hold on, we're not ending. Move your feet.
Come back to the
We're
couch.
coming back to the
Step over,
couch.
bro, step over.
Coming back to
Okay,
the
let's
couch.
talk about this. For
Let's
a
talk
second.
about WoW Classic.
God,
go
bless.
That's my
Let's
nephew,
go
by the
back.
way.
Okay. Click WoW Classic. 15. Okay, so back up.
I've never played
Okay,
WoW. I'm
I-
scared to play
Stop.
WoW.
I got to give everybody a little background.
Okay.
We're down at Pike Street Market, which is kind of a staple in Seattle, and
Full
we're
of fish.
yeah we're hanging out at a bar, and the conversation starts with
fingers.
when I get back, I'm gonna jump on WoW Classic. Lance's comment is there is a 0% chance of me happening. Less than 15 minutes later, we are talking about installing WoW Classic here
Brian
in
was
Seattle.
fucking browbeating me like, dude, you gotta play. You should be part of the horde. I'm part of the horde. I'm undead. You should be an orc. Let's go. So like that's what we were going with, dude.
So let's get this. On Tuesday, you hadn't played.
Not yet.
So what's your experience with WoW Classic? Being you
I don't know what I'm
you
talking
are
about. I can post some pictures
hard
of this
effing core. You were hard effing core.
So
in WoW.
I have
Don't
I
minimize
have,
it. Don't you dare minimize it.
I'm not minimizing. I have about a half a year of playtime.
Half a year.
Not a half a year that I have
played.
installed the game. I have a half a year of actual time that I've been logged in the game and moving around and doing things.
Okay.
So I have a
I don't
little
know
bit
whether
of
to
clout.
like applaud or like
I
get
mean,
help.
you-
I don't know
Loser.
what to do. I
It's
don't know what to do.
loser.
It is sad.
You know what I'm saying?
Funny psychiatrist.
Thank you. I'm
But
glad you know what
so
you're doing.
so I have a little bit of clout into what is good about WoW and what is bad about WoW, and I have I've had a chance to play. I'm afraid of what
John
I'm
would
saying.
like to know how much of that time is actually Q.
Let me ask
No,
you.
I played on the server.
wait.
All of it.
Were you,
I-
were you
played 3
DPS?
quarters.
So
Oh.
I had a main tank, I had a main healer, and I had two
What
or
tank?
three DPS.
Tank.
So I had a human protection tank,
Okay, that's not too bad.
and then
Oh my
and
God,
I had
here we
I had a
fucking
druid
go.
a druid healer.
That's trash.
They have their
Damn,
uses.
we called your people trash.
They have their uses. I had a mage, I had a hunter, and then
What's
I
a
had a couple
hunter?
other like a twink and things like that.
They're hunters. You don't bother with them.
Don't bother with them.
They're-
Okay.
And so I ran a raiding guild where we would go through and so I would run the full instances with each of my characters and do full runs with each of them every week, a lot of time, right? I mean, doing every instance every week with each character. And so I've had a lot of playtime, and I can say with the new WoW Classic, it is that original experience because they took the exact game that you had in 2004,
Minus the skeletons.
But they have pretty much the exact experience that I started with, because I started right at the very beginning of 2005. So
2005. What year is 2019?
So that's when I first started playing
More
WoW.
time than I got, bro.
Old man
That's more time
Aldridge.
than I got.
So that's when I first started playing.
Back when I started.
And this
I had a
game,
compact.
this game is
Compact
like that
5200.
exact moment.
Back of my Dell.
It's the
Presario.
difficulty. It's the difficulty of the original. They've done nothing to speed up the process and make it more modern, and so people are really loving it because it has all of the requirement for skill. It has all the requirement for you actually putting in and having the gratification that you did something correctly with a team of people.
Okay.
That all the modern games have left out.
You know, I have a thing to ask.
We were chatting about this when we were hanging out earlier about
For
how
sure.
modern games are not allowed to be hard because they get
Because
beaten
the
up in
reviews.
reviews.
Yep.
You guys have went over the entire list of everybody who's going to be at the show. Is Blizzard going to be here this year in
No.
any capacity?
I haven't seen them.
They do their own thing. They have
They've
BlizzCon.
got BlizzCon. They don't bother.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can just tell everybody else to piss off. You know what I'm
They
saying?
Well,
basically
when,
do,
when you're Blizzard,
They had
you can.
something for the Blizzard
It's
store
like,
or whatever.
it's
That was at PAX
Nintendo.
East.
Yeah.
Trey says
Oh yeah,
he
Nintendo's
was,
here too.
he was in queue
Nintendo
for
basically
7
just turned
hours
the fuck
Tuesday,
So
and then he says it was totally worth it.
so before
Wow.
so when he was
If
at
I
work,
was in queue in H1Z1 for 7 minutes, it was not
Killed
totally
yourself.
worth it, bro.
So-
I was ready to go jump off the building.
So he
and
was
just
at
land in
work.
Traffic.
last night he was at
Wow.
work. In the afternoon, I started the queue so that when he got home from work, he'd actually be able to play in the evening.
Damn, that's legit.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Good man, Aldridge.
All right, yeah.
That's
Hold
too
on,
much
plus
of an
one
investment
for,
in time.
Plus one for Brian.
No,
There we
no,
go.
no, you're all right. You're all right on that. I'm not gonna kick your mic.
I don't trust
Go
you.
go that way this time.
Yeah,
go
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 on.
go go.
Yeah, go,
Oh
go.
boy, here we go.
That's okay. I trust him. It's fine.
Whoa.
Bring back Guinness or Oreos.
So
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the difference. Is I think that all those original people, and it's going to be all players that are about our age, right?
I don't know.
That remember that original experience, that are willing to, because they remember the reward they got from putting in the work on the original experience. I think that your younger player that's a millennial and younger is going to struggle to go in and see the reward. Okay, if I go and put in this time, I'm going to really enjoy this game.
Dude, I hate to bitch up, but I'm scared to go on that thread that is called Warcraft. Or
But-
WoW.
Well, you've got to decide. Are you willing to commit your life?
You gotta decide, bro.
You
A
got to
decision
decide.
has to be made.
That's the thing.
serious
Is
decision.
it
The
is
evil empire.
so it's a game that will require for you to truly master it, and for you to really get the maximum amount of appreciation.
Don't put that on me. Don't look at me like that.
You know what I'm saying? But for you to get the maximum amount of appreciation out of the game,
Sure.
you have to commit to truly
But I have to
learn
be-
it.
Yes, I
But that's
know,
what all these
dude.
modern games don't do. You don't have to learn it.
Well, that's not true.
There's the few people that do master it.
That's not that's not a modern game though.
But I'm
What do
saying
you
the
mean it's not
the
a
modern
modern
game,
Guild
there's
Wars
the
2's been out for what, 10 years?
Not 10 years. Maybe half that.
but the modern games, they don't. There's the few people that do master it.
Let's find out.
World of Warcraft required almost everybody to master it.
I understand.
You know, it was you had to master it if you were truly going to take advantage of the game.
So
The new
regardless
games,
of how
there's
many
a
level
few small
80s
people.
I have in Guild Wars, it doesn't matter because, you know, this is a whole other thing. Is
Yeah,
what you're saying?
this is one where
7 years on Guild Wars 2, 2012.
Wow.
It's an old game. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying. So
I'm gonna give you
Half.
plus one
We-
on that
we can
because,
split it.
Okay.
We'll
We'll
split
split
the
credit on
difference.
that. 0.5 for you.
But no, I mean, so I'll give you a great example. So I was recommended Zelda Breath of the Wild
yeah
to play out to play.
on the trip here.
Yeah,
or in
so I
general.
decided, okay, I'm taking a 5.5 hour plane ride. This is probably a good opportunity. I played through maybe 3 hours of that game. It's a tough game.
Yeah.
It's legit. Though,
It's
right?
not. It's very legit,
I'm
but it's
ashamed
tough.
to say
It requires
as a
an
Zelda
investment.
fan,
It requires
I'm
an
ashamed
investment.
To say I haven't played it yet.
There's no like. There's no guide to do all of the things in order. It's nothing like that. It's a tough game, and it's different and it's refreshing.
Yeah. So with the modern games, that's the difference. Fortnite games that are more short term, very compact. It's done when it's over. It's done. That's the
true.
difference.
But that's what's hot right now.
But this new generation doesn't have that investment, like what he's talking about. The investment of putting 3, 4, 5 hours just in one gaming session, and that's just building on the greater.
I completed one quest in that period.
So what makes it with WoW? What was really the thing that made it truly something that grabbed you was the fact that I had mastered my character. I had gotten all the gear that I could, and there was just a few pieces of gear that I could get that would make me like at the top of the pack.
Let me ask you a question, and this is something that chat's bringing up as well. Are you saying that games today are easier than their predecessor, even though this is a remake? Are you saying that it's a different experience and possibly easier?
I'm saying that the average player doesn't have to truly master it to get the enjoyment out of the game. They've made it to where there's a lot of short-term goals that they can get and reach, and you can kill this many players and the game is over. With WoW, in the short term, you didn't get the appreciation. If you did only the short-term goals in WoW, you didn't get the appreciation. You didn't get the reward out of it. So
you say current players, but do you mean?
I'm saying the players who play things like Fortnite, who play things like PUBG.
Yep.
Those are very short-term goals. You can get better at it, and you can get a little more of a reward out of it by becoming a master of it and getting getting the wins constantly. But the short-term player also gets some reward.
We're talking about surpassing game ADD, which a lot of us have.
Yeah, but with WoW, you have to commit a decent amount of time to truly get that enjoyment. It's not a short-term enjoyment. You'll get some to a short-term enjoyment, but to get the truly long-term enjoyment, you have to put some.
You put that with my goodness. Take that crap down.
But you have to put some time into it to get the true enjoyment of what WoW can offer you.
Sure.
And so these other games, they offer you a lot of short-term stuff of, you got this many kills, you got this. But in WoW, if you go in and play for 15 minutes in WoW, you're not gonna come out of it saying, "Oh, that was great." You know what I'm saying? But if you do that in Fortnite, you could play a 15-minute game. Oh, that was fun.
For
Right.
sure, and it's the same thing with PUBG, right?
Mhm.
And that's the same appeal. I feel like that's the appeal with COD, right? With Call of Duty, when it comes out, it's like
Yep.
we're getting in there. I can hit it
If
hard.
you
It's
truly
like,
put the
dude,
time
it's 11
in-
o'clock. I gotta go.
If you truly put the time in, you could get a little more out of it, right?
Yeah, but with WoW, it's like it's 11 o'clock. I gotta go to work tomorrow. Well, 45. We got another raid. Okay, another hour and 15 minutes. No problem. And before you
And
know
it's
it,
building on a bigger thing. It's building on I'm possibly getting a piece of gear that's building on the bigger picture. There is no bigger
what bigger
picture. The
bigger picture of
so
WoW.
in WoW, you're building up your gear score. You're building up your ability to do that instance the next time, and having it not be so hard because you either have that much more healing power, you have that much more ability to do damage, you have that much more ability to resist damage being taken to you if you're a tank. You're making yourself just a little bit stronger a piece of the puzzle that is your whole raid group. You're building it over long periods of time.
I have a question about WoW, and it's just from my ignorance. I haven't
Yeah.
looked into this. So if we were to start WoW from scratch with this newly revamped and rebooted WoW, are the same expansions still in place, or will they have to be re-released?
So right now it's the first initial vanilla WoW,
Okay.
and then after a period of time they'll release the next
You guys know
expansion.
I like vanilla. Like I would like to try that. Like if we're gonna try that.
So that's what I'm
the
saying.
way to
You
jump
have
in.
the opportunity right now to experience the original vanilla WoW, which
that's the
doesn't
way I
have
look at it.
flying. It doesn't have any of the extra stuff.
But that's good though, because think how many people haven't experienced that are like, dude,
Like me.
it's too crazy.
Your average
it's too far
person
gone,
wasn't
I don't wanna
around
get
at that
in.
time.
Right, I don't want to get in because it's too far crazy. Like I'm not going to jump in with all these other people. Now that they're saying we're almost, I don't want to say reboot, but now that we're saying, listen, here's a line you can get in at the beginning and you can progress through. That's more,
And then you can
enticing to me.
experience the Outlands, and you can experience
Green
flying.
Man.
You can
Sorry.
experience that whole new set, the next step of everything.
Yes.
Is he doing all right?
No. I was just getting.
So he can experience that. You can experience the next step that everyone experienced in time. For me, when I started playing was right after vanilla. Now I played through pretty much vanilla, and I had to work my way through because I was on a new server that started
Yes.
right at that expansion. So I didn't just immediately experience everything from there on, right?
Yeah.
But I had to work through and then get to the point where I saw the new expansion. So I pretty much experienced everything, but I didn't get to do those raids that I'm going to be able to experience now. So for me, this is something.
Like the molten core. And all
Yeah,
that
I did
first
molten
time.
core after I was level 70 or whatever.
What
It wasn't
level
the
are you?
same.
I'm way over that.
You're maxed out, or you're all in, right? Thanks, guys.
You know, if I were to go back to it now,
This
it'd be
is a
level
good team.
120,
I
and
just
it
want
wouldn't
you
be the
guys
same
to know.
experience. It wouldn't be that
Right.
challenge. You wouldn't require the cooperation. It's a totally different
You
game.
can basically once you get over once you get into the next expansion, you can basically
10 levels.
solo
The Nexus what?
all of the previous raids.
So now, well, not the raids. So molten core at level 70, it still takes a group, but you don't have to be serious.
What's max level in WoW?
Well, right now it's 120.
120.
But,
But-
that's been crunched.
But right
Sounds
now,
like a lot.
but in WoW,
Fucking high.
but in
It's
WoW
a-
Classic,
Oh, this is hours a level, like
Yep.
early
but-
levels.
Dude,
Wow,
I would
WoW
have to quit my
Classic.
job and sell 2 kids to make this fucking work.
in WoW Classic,
Well, hey,
in WoW Classic, it's a level
But what do you
60,
say?
right?
Yeah.
And then in the next expansion, it's gonna be level 70. So that shows you how many expansions have come out to then reach level
When
120.
you say expansion, you're talking about things like the Lich King and
Yeah,
all these other
full,
things that we've heard about.
whole new map
and we've
areas.
intentionally pushed them all.
Everything's been kind of revamped. There
So
was
you-
one.
So you've gone you got Vanilla, Burning Crusade, then you got Lich King.
Go for it.
not
Let's see if you can
not
name them all.
Apocalypse. What was the? It's like Apocalypse, but it's not that.
Panda Mountain or Panda Island.
No, that's Pandaria. That was the one after that. Then there was.
Dude, they're fixing to light you up in chat if you don't name them.
Cataclysm.
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 And that's your brother, Green Man 2.
Survival.
Come
with that.
Cataclysm.
Yeah, and then there was not Battle for Azeroth. That's the one we're on now. Warlords of Draenor.
Yep, Warlords of Draenor. Yep.
Then there was Battle for Azeroth, which is the one they're on now.
Ooh, you better
So
be
that's
glad you were
brought
able
them
do
to
that
level
because they were
120.
gonna light your ass
And
up
if you
in
look at the
chat.
content, if you were to go back and do some of those raids that were level 60, you'll go in and solo them. Now, when you were level 70, you go in. Still, you could do it with maybe a 10-man raid. You could go in and and just kind of mess around, and you could kill that boss. But it's not the same experience.
Okay, now you say it's not the same experience, but it sounds like you're saying is that it's heavily nerfed. That's what it sounds like you're saying.
It's so much easier when
And
you're
those are
doing
two
level
different
60
things.
with that raid. Everyone has to do their job perfectly.
Okay.
They have to do it,
That's
and
the
they have
original
to.
experience,
They have to know
right?
their character 100%. They have to be doing their jobs, and you only complete it when
Yes.
everybody did their job perfectly.
That's
And
the
you-
original experience.
Yes.
What's the modern experience?
Now,
Is it
you,
not the same?
now you go in and
You just-
you click three
Yeah,
buttons
all the
in
times.
sequence, and you'll finish it.
Are you being over dramatic?
No.
No.
Wow.
And maybe some people don't even have to do any damage
Why would they have changed it?
because
It's
the
not
average
that- it's
player
not that-
wants it
it's
easy.
not that it's changed.
Wow.
Your progression has gone so high comparison-wise to the old stuff. Like,
But they don't make puzzles anymore.
no, you don't have.
Do you mean
You
new
have-
puzzles or
what-
the old puzzles?
No,
don't
the
exist?
dungeons used to be puzzles. They used to actually treat them like a puzzle. They made a puzzle with the dungeon that you had to figure out the way that it had to be completed.
And then, now they basically just have waves of ads, and then you go to the
They
boss.
simplified it,
And
Trade
the
where
boss-
people didn't have to figure it out.
The boss has a particular mechanic, which is essentially the healers have to do something or the tank has to do something. They never make DPS do anything because
Because they don't
DPS
communicate
don't do
anymore.
anything because they're fucking useless.
Trey 4481 says that Classic takes knowledge and planning to complete raids and quests.
Yeah.
You guys would agree with that?
Yeah, because now, okay, especially with the new modern plugins, add-ons, you don't even have to think about anything.
This
You
is
have an
a
arrow.
fucking survival game.
You have
I'm
an
sorry
arrow
I
that's
brought
pointing
it
you
on
a
this
certain
road.
direction. You
We're
follow
way
the
down
arrow.
this road now. I'm
The,
sorry.
the other thing is like old WoW tanks used to have to deal with threat, so you'd have to build up a certain percentage of threat,
Aggro, yeah.
or aggro before the DPS could start attacking. Because once they start attacking, they do a lot more damage than you do.
And they're building aggro. So the tank had a lot more of a role. Nowadays, the tank is just, if you click these couple buttons in order,
Yeah,
you're generally going to do it, and it's more about your gear score. When back in the day, it had to do with, am I doing these things in the proper order? Am I figuring this out?
If say
It was
Nick,
skill-based.
say Nick is a DPS. If Nick was a dickhead and just jumped before I did,
Accurate.
and did a bunch of damage, I could never pull the damage back off Nick because he'd done so much damage to start with. And then Lance would
So-
do a bunch of damage because he was DPS.
We're good. I got it.
Watch
We're
that
good.
drink behind
I got
you.
it, I
Sean
got
was
it, I
full.
got it,
A
we're
bunch
good,
of
we're
damage
good.
because he was DPS.
I bumped it.
Tanks had two taunts, so you had basically 2 opportunities to pull the aggro back. If 3 DPS fucked it up, you were done. That was basically.
And it would cause you to do a full wipe,
That was a
which was
wipe.
expensive. First of all, nowadays it's not expensive.
Yeah.
Used to be back in the day, you were spending money on potions that you were drinking before the raid to give you special stats, and you were doing all these things.
Are we talking real money at $15 a month?
No,
Or
no,
are we
no.
talking
We're talking
bullshit
about
money?
in-game money, which was back in the day was an ordeal. Like you were working to either build the mats, so you would consume a potion that you would take before the raid started,
Yeah.
and then you would wipe, and then you'd have to take that again, and that would cost you a decent amount of money in game.
I'm gonna go ahead on a limb and guess that you could spend real money into fake money to buy these things. Like
Only
an
if you
app
were
on my
buying gold.
iPhone, is
Only,
that correct?
only if you were buying gold
Only
illegally.
the auctions and stuff.
Okay, so you couldn't just go in there and buy.
Nowadays,
gold
you
and
can
buy
pretty
your
much buy money. It's
shit.
equivalent to
Wow,
buying
they've
money.
opened it up, made it legit.
I mean,
now.
there's pretty much ways to go.
It sounds a little gross now.
Yeah, now it's not the same anymore. But back in the day, because you can do things to kind of buy coins and do whatever.
But if you are a novice and have never played the game, and we've got some viewers who maybe have never touched WoW, this is the perfect time to get in though.
Yeah, so
Regardless
this-
of all the bullshit.
This is the experience
it.
that
This is the
truly
last chance
pulled
you're
me
gonna
in.
have.
This is the experience that truly pulled me in. If you want to experience
Basically,
WoW,
they'll never do this again.
Yeah, they won't.
it won't feel like this again. You're getting the true original experience.
God damn it.
We're in.
Lance is in.
If you want to find what made
For the Horde.
if you want to find what
I'm gonna
game
be an
actually
orc.
pulled me in and got me to actually do a half
Be-
a year
be
of
undead.
playtime.
No, I don't want to know shit about the half a
Be
year. That
undead.
scares the shit out of me.
Sylvanas is the best.
But the thing is, it's because I enjoyed it so much.
It's fine. I can find another job.
All right. I think that's a good stopping point. We got a
WoW podcast.
we've got an early morning.
Wow
and
podcast.
and we've got some other stuff we got to get done. We've got to get prepared.
Agreed.
and that. So,
And who knows what we might find tomorrow? We might find some interesting stuff. We'll bring it back to you guys, and then we'll give a full layout of everything that we found.
all right. Well, I'm gonna pop over here and go ahead and stop all this stuff. You can follow us on Twitter at InfectionCast. Again, our Discord's gonna be the best way to keep up to date with us throughout the duration of PAX West. Thank you for-
Don't forget to check out Green Man Cartoons.
Absolutely. Check out our Man
How
Green Man
to.
cartoons.
and how to.
And how to.
Oh, and how to.
YouTube.com/C/Brian Aldridge.
How to.
Verified, even though he doesn't have any subscribers.
Verified.
All right. Thanks for joining us,
Because
everybody.
I work for Google. Thank you.
Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. Have a good one.